this next section on letting go of the past. This video on letting go of the past, changing those limiting beliefs that you adopted as a child. You didn't consciously set out your beliefs, but you need beliefs and attitudes to function. You adopted your parents' limiting beliefs, and you adopted your siblings in school and your society, and what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. All those limiting beliefs that it's important for you to go back and change. And I've done videos on how to change limiting beliefs. I'm not going to have time to belabor the point today, but for today, that's the way to let go of the past. I need to change the belief and the attitudes. The world's an unfriendly place. It's a dog-eat-dog world. It's a world of domination. And it's all that stuff that you've been brainwashed into believing you need to let go of and change. And most importantly, you need to change your perception of yourself. That's how you set yourself free. Changing beliefs, changing attitudes, and changing perception. And you've been doing that simply by listening to what I've been saying today. By listening to the other parts of this course on awakening your spiritual grace and on solutions for moving beyond struggle. Understanding and changing your perception of your ego that we talked about on that hour-and-a-half class. We talked about the immature ego of the child, the adolescent, the teenager, and the grown-up and the adult. To understand how the ego works, to change your perception. And you've been doing that by listening, and that's beautiful and that's wonderful. But now it's about going back and changing the attitude and opening up to a positive attitude, to have the humility to change the beliefs. What are my limiting beliefs around love? Do I have a belief that love hurts? What do I want to change it to? Maybe the belief that love heals. Yeah, that might be I would like to create that reality and that experience that love heals versus love hurts. So that's the first step of letting go of the past, is being willing to change your beliefs, attitudes, and your perception. The second one is to look at your addictive responses. To look at your addictive responses and your bad habits, to explore them, like me and my addictions, me and my addictive responses. I don't like to use the word addictive responses because addiction has such a negative connotation, and it sounds like a prison. It's addiction to whatever. But addictive responses is that I respond with an addictive behavior, and most people's addictive responses are emotional and mental. To be addicted to self-pity is what all addiction is about. See, addiction is your ego's attempt to find passion. Hear that. You can write that down. Addiction is your ego's attempt to find passion. What is passion? That sense of oneness. To be the artist who's connected to their painting and their craft. They lose time and space and they become one. They go into this zone, you called it, the vortex, the zone, whatever you want to call it. There's that energy of oneness, and passion engages that oneness, engages that experience, and that passion for being connected to all that is what passion is. Well, you know what? When I smoked a joint once, or I drank alcohol, or I did cocaine, or I did whatever drugs that are, addictions, that this ego got a hit of feeling that oneness, that connection. They let down their guard. They no longer felt so self-conscious, and they felt connected to everybody around them when they drink alcohol, that social lubricant, they call it. Why? Because it gives me a sense, the ego's attempt to feel passion. But guess what? It's never enough. Then I gotta go back and do it again. And then after a while, I build up a resistance, and I need even more alcohol, I need even more drugs, But look at, what are your addictive responses? What are they a symptom of? What am I trying to get from that? To journal about that, to explore it. Oh, I'd hate to think I have an addiction. I'd hate to think, you know what? The world is a painful place. And it was never meant to be this painful. And because of the pain, people need a way to cope. And so addiction got you through. Gave your ego a way to cope. But there's better ways now. There's new ways. There's soul, spirit ways. There's the life force. There's God, Goddess, all that is, that can set you free. But that got you through. So don't beat yourself up or judge yourself about it. Accept it and understand it. Explore it. Seek to understand, when did I start my addictive responses? What age was I at? I was like 14, 16, 21. What was going on in my life back then? To explore it, to unpack it, to look at where I might need to go back and do some inner child healing. So what are my addictive responses a symptom of? To explore that, to journal about that. That's the way to start to break free of the past. The third component is to let your parents be people. Let your mom be a woman. Let your dad be a man. Stop projecting your child inside and looking at them as these perfect beings. As I mentioned the other night, that it's every parent's job to fail at giving the perfect love. Because as a child, we were once one with the divine. We come into the physical world and we project Goddess onto Mother and God onto Father. And when you can stop the projections, let them be people who had their own hopes, their own dreams, that some of them they succeeded with, some of them they failed, some of those dreams were dashed. Let them be people. That's the way to not only let go of the past, but to mature your ego and to take and stop blaming your parents and start letting them be human beings. Stop projecting. And if you don't like the people they are, that's okay too. It's okay too. If you were to meet your mother or father on the street and talk to them, would you want to have them over for dinner? Some people say, yes, I would, and I have a great relationship. Some people say, no, actually, I really don't like my parents. That's okay. Whoa, Mikhail, that's the worst thing you could ever say. Blood is thicker than water. Yeah, so is oil. So what? Blood is thicker than water. What does that mean? Again, these traps that hold you into the past. If your parents were abusive and mean and critical or whatever, it's okay to say, you know what, I can still love and respect them, but I choose to push them at a distance. I don't want to be around them. I don't really like them as people. I love them and I respect them as my parents, but I don't need to hang out with them and let them run my life anymore. I'm an adult. So letting your parents be people is the third way to break free of the past. The fourth way is to develop a relationship with your empowered future self, to have a vision of the future. That's the way to let go of the past. Again, you won't let go of that relay of the past until you have something to reach for, until you have something to look forward to, until you can open up. Don't let yourself get limited by your egos. Oh, if only I could, and I hate to expect anything. I'd hate to hope and get my dreams, get my hopes up. That's what the ego does. Don't get your hopes up. Don't expect too much. Just settle for what you have. What if you get disappointed? If it doesn't manifest, if it doesn't happen, I'll be disappointed. Poor me, I'll be disappointed. But you know what? If I don't have hopes and dreams of the future, it's much less likely to happen. And it doesn't hurt any less when it doesn't. So open up and have expectation, anticipation, which is hope. Have hope for the future and start to imagine yourself healed from that critical, debilitating condition that you have. Imagine a future of you being free in that loving relationship, to see that relationship grow or change, or perhaps if you've never been in a loving relationship, to open up to that future where you find that soulmate, where you find that person where you can connect with and share your life with. Open up to the possibility. Oh, Mikhail, I'm afraid to, because I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt if it doesn't happen. Well, you see what? You're acting as if you have nothing to do with the matter. It is up to fate, not to you, to choose and to create and to manifest and to attract it. You can create your own reality. You do create your own reality. Because you know what? There's also the disempowered future. That's your ego's future. And it's out there. Both futures are out there and they're radiating energy. They're feeding you now. They're changing who you are. It's motivating you. It's feeding your fears and your anxieties. It's your motivation for growth. It's coming in for healing or not healing. It's all about my relationship to the future. Who am I connecting with in the future? My disempowered ego's future or my empowered soul's path future? Which one? And they both exist and both are out there. Which one I give attention to is the one I'm going to draw upon and manifest. And I know what that ego's future is about. Loneliness, pain, struggle, suffering. I've learned, hear this, you have learned all the lessons that pain and struggle can teach you. You've graduated. It's time to move on to the next level. You've learned all the lessons of pain and struggle. Now it's about learning the lessons of love, joy, abundance, freedom, and success on all levels of your life. Those lessons are even more scary than those of fear and pain and struggle. That's familiar. You know how to struggle. You know pain. Oh, you know how to feel sorry for yourself. You know how to control and manipulate. You got the ego down pat. Now the challenge is to stretch and move out of that ego to connect with a new future, an empowered future, and to develop a relationship with that future, to open up to possibilities is the fourth component of letting go of the past. The fifth component is to transform and to release the constricting emotions from the past. That's what keeps us stuck. The shame, as I mentioned, as I talked about in a previous video about that gentleman and my client, he had to deal with tremendous shame and sorrow. And it was painful to pull that up. It's like opening up a wound from the past that had scabbed over. It was painful and he had forgotten about it enough, but it was ruining his life. He wouldn't let love in. He wouldn't let so many things in because he felt such guilt. And until he could open up the wound of the past, feel the sorrow, and get rid of the shame and understand and make peace with his past, and then express the anger and the hurt and the disappointment and forgive himself, transforming the constricting emotions Not the negative emotions. Notice I'm not saying negative emotions. They're constricting. Shame, guilt, fear, hurt, disappointment. They're constricting. They're not negative. They're there to guide you. They're there to say this has got to change. And likewise, there's no such thing as positive emotions. There's expansive emotions. Love, joy, peace, happiness are expansive. Joy, fear, guilt, shame are constrictive. And when you can stop judging, hear the word, your emotions as good and bad, right and wrong, positive and negative, and see them as expansive or constrictive, that can change your relationship and allow you to stop judging those, quote, negative emotions of anger and fear, and see them as, no, they're slowing me down. They're slowing me down. Love is an accelerator to move forward, and fear are the brakes to slow you down. And you need both to navigate through life. Life isn't about getting rid of fear. It's about not being afraid of fear. Hear the difference. I no longer have to be afraid of my fear and ignore it and let it run my life through anxiety. I can learn to turn to love and focus on, with love and understanding, my fear. And I can take my power back and let it be what it's supposed to be, there to protect me and to guide me, to slow me down when I'm going too fast, to say, pay attention, look over here. Fear isn't an enemy. It's not negative. Unattended and repressed fear is destructive. Unattended and repressed love is destructive. Any emotion that's real has a positive and negative potential. Love and fear have both a positive and a negative potential, depending on what I do with my fear, depending on what I do with my love. What is my relationship? Notice that word keeps coming up a lot. Healing your relationship with your soul, healing your relationship with your spirit, healing your relationship with the past, healing your relationship with your ego, healing your relationship with God. God is all that is. It's all about the way I relate to life. And that's transforming your emotions, is healing your relationship to your emotional body. Stop judging them as good and bad and right and wrong and spiritual and unspiritual. Anger is unspiritual. No, it isn't. All your emotions are spiritual. But it's my relationship. Is it a functional relationship or a dysfunctional relationship? And I can change the way I relate. I can change the dysfunction into function. And that's what letting go of the past is about. I can change the dysfunctional beliefs and attitudes I've held on to into more functioning beliefs and attitudes that support my dream of the future. I can change my relationship to my addictive responses. I can change my relationship to my parents. Let them be people. I can change my relationship with my empowered future self. I have that ability, and I want to live and function with love. I want to function with compassion and understanding. I want to function from my soul and my spirit. I want to function and live and breathe as a spiritual being that I have always been and am destined to become again. Fully empowered, fully conscious, fully awake, fully aware, fully functioning in the grace of my spiritual nature. That is the challenge, and that is what this class, bringing it to a close as you let go of the past, changing those beliefs, transforming the constricting emotions by not judging them and going into them and processing them. And I've talked about this in other classes. You can, if you don't know how to do that, look me up, look for the other classes, and you can discover how to do that. What are your addictive responses to change that, and to look at your relationship with your empowered future and let your parents be people as the way to begin to let go of that past and reach for a future, your future that's out there waiting for you to claim it, your empowered future. And I hope that you all have got some value from today's class. I've enjoyed sharing it. There's some things in there I need to hear that I'm listening to as I talk to you. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you so much for the donations, all of you, for the time and the attention. Oh my gosh, there's 137 people on here. Wow. And this has been a trilogy, a series that is now, sounds like it's going to be a quadruple class series, meaning the fourth class, to wrap up this empowered journey. The empowered journey that awakens your spiritual grace, that knows how to move beyond the struggle of the past by taking your power back from the ego. And then today to spark the aliveness of your soul and your spirit. And in that aliveness and in that beauty, you can be free. Not only from the pain of the past, but you can be free to then step into the empowered future. May your journey continue to show you just how beautiful and powerful you really are. And with that, I'm going to close.